Hey, Assalamu alaikum. Let's understand about the top 20 anti-aging gene. Basically, what is the anti-aging gene? Basically, anti-aging gene which that express to reverse the aging, and it requires a lot more stressor, which that is hormesis like the hot exposure, cold exposure, fasting, the calorie restriction, ketogenic diet, exercise, and good sleep, which that is important for the recovery. So in this way, basically, the reverse the aging is important because everyone is going to older, so they want to reverse that gene, older age, and they look like they want to look like more younger as compared to the normal older age. So in this way, how to reverse and how to express that type of gene which that basically increase your lifespan, even reverse the aging, and you look like more healthy person. So let's understand about that. There is the note. You can understand the anti-aging gene try to compensate the aging reverse. So the DNA repair and stability, first of all, we will understand about that. In this telomerase, enzyme TRT, which then maintain the telomeres, and it is important, and in this the DNA repair and stability will increase. P53 tumor suppressor and DNA repair gene, BRCA1 and 2 DNA repair and damage response. So this is basically the gene, for example the telomerase enzyme, which that express from the gene which that maintain the telomere. So remember, the P53 gene activation will lead to tumor suppressor. So it will suppress the tumor formation due to the P53 gene. And DNA repair, so it will repair the DNA. The BRCA1 and 2, which that is a gene involved for the breast cancer also. So basically it is when not expressed. So in this way the breast cancer, and in this the BRCA1 and 2, which that is a DNA repair and damage response. Whenever the DNA will damage and that repair required. So in this the BRCA1 and 2 gene activation. WRN, the Werner syndrome gene, which that maintain the genome stability. So in this way it is also important. And the Q72 and 80, which that is a gene important for the DNA repair and the telomere maintenance. So these all gene basically required for the expression to reverse the aging and prevention of the cancer, prevention of the many type of disease like allergic reaction and a lot more neurodegenerative disease. So remember about that things. These genes is important. So how to express that we will also understand in the next. So the cellular stress resistant gene also we will understand here. No. So the SIT1 gene is basically regulates the cellular stress response. Whenever you will basically increase the cellular stress by the different mechanism like the heat shock stress or the cold shock stress or a lot more other stress, which that will lead to activate the SIT1 gene. SIT6 gene is important for the regulate the cellular stress and maintain. So the cellular stress is requirement to activate that gene. So the stress is important. We will understand in the next video how to get the stress for the reverse the aging and activate the gene which that reverse the aging. So on the other hand, the HSF1, which that heat shock transcriptional factor. Heat shock transcriptional factor is basically HSF1, which that also important for the reverse of the aging, and it is the cellular stress response. That cellular stress will increase, lead to resistance, but the minor level of the stress you should hormesis, and you should get the stress by your own self, and in this way the activation and basically your cell will prolonged combat with the again stress. So again stressing prevention. So the NRF2, which that is important for the antioxidant response element. So antioxidant response, it is gene which that is important that will produce a protein and which that is antioxidant. So it is basically antioxidant response element which that basically responds the antioxidation process. FOXO3 is the fork head box O3 is important for regulate the stress resistance, and these all genes should be activated for reverse the aging, like the DNA repair and stability gene activation, cellular stress resistance gene activation. So we should stimulate. We will understand about how to stimulate in the next. First of all, we will understand further mitochondrial function. So the PGC1 alpha is the regulate mitochondrial biogenesis. It is also important for the activation. NRF1, it is the gene important for the nuclear respiratory factor 1. So this is nuclear respiratory factor 1. It is gene. Basically, it is also stimulated by the stressor. We will discuss next. So the TFAM is the mitochondrial transcription factor A. The TFAM is important for the biogenesis of the mitochondria and the repair of the mitochondria, as well as the replication of the mitochondria will increase. So the mitochondrial DNA. The mitochondrial DNA is very important. That mitochondria contain gene which that should be a positive and healthy, which that create the best mitochondrial performance. SIRT3 gene is also regulate the mitochondrial function. So all these things basically required to express this all gene for the health of the mitochondria. So in this way you can stimulate by several things. So we will understand. Cellular synthesis. Cellular synthesis is the gene which that basically lead to cellular synthesis, and in this way the basically P161NK4A, which that is a tumor suppressor and the synthesis regulator, and P21CIP1, which that is a cell cycle regulator, CDKN2A, which that is cyclin dependent kinase inhibitor, while the BCL2 is the anti-apoptotic gene. And on the other hand, the polycomb group gene also important for the cellular synthesis. And in this way, this gene is basically all gene is the anti-aging gene, and it will express due to the result of the stress, and the stress can be a different type. While on the other hand, the other gene like the AMPK, adenosine monophosphate activated protein, and kinase, and the mTOR and the AKT, which that is important gene. For example, the mTOR is progress. So in this, the AMPK pathway is important to inhibit the mTOR pathway, and the mTOR pathway is responsible for the oncogene activation. But remember, the mTOR pathway required for the growth of the muscle, so it requires the basically on the basis of level. So you should maintain the level. For example, the night time you should express the mTOR pathway, while the daytime you should prevent that thing. So how to prevent? Let's understand also. So AKT is the basically also gene. So here in the bracket, I will not tell about that basically. On the other hand, the ERK, the extracellular signal regulated kinase, which that also gene is important for the expression and anti-aging. Let's understand about that. This all gene require the stress, like the cold stress, like the hot stress. On the other hand, the basically like on the other hand the hot bath and cold bath. On the other hand, exercise is also the type of stress which they regulate their genes, and in this way you can reverse the aging, you can reverse the all type of the disease. On the other hand, you can keep the health improve by this mechanism. But anyhow, on the other hand, important thing is that the ketogenic diet also increase this type of gene, because the ketogenic diet create the stress, insulin suppress, insulin basically buffer while the spike of the growth hormone, which that basically increase the anti-aging gene, increase the basically aging gene suppression, while the anti-aging gene which that is enhanced. So this all gene anti-aging gene which that express, while on the other hand the fasting and caloric restriction will activate the AMPK pathway, and AMPK pathway will check the AMPK gene activation, which that will check the damaged cell. If the damaged cell containing DNA damage, which that recycle that cell while the healthy cell will maintain. While the mTOR pathway will not work like this, mTOR pathway will proliferate even the DNA damage containing cell. So in this way, you should suppress or buffer the mTOR pathway while spike the AMPK pathway. In this way, the AMPK pathway will trigger due to the exercise, caloric restriction, starvation mode, fasting, intermittent fasting, and on the other hand, a lot more things like the ketogenic diet and the sleep, which that activate the AMPK pathway, because this is an important thing. While on the other hand, if you are thinking about the drug, so in this way, the metformin, resveratrol, and metformin, which that also activate the AMPK pathway and inhibit the mTOR pathway, and the rapamycin, which that also inhibit the mTOR pathway. So remember about that things, and in this way you can achieve the all things due to the this activation of the gene. So the stress is very important. So you can achieve that anti-aging process by the activation of the anti-aging gene, like the SIT1 gene and other type of gene. How it is possible? The caloric restriction, ketogenic diet, hard training, exercise, running, fasting, the ketogenic diet, fasting, and the caloric restriction, and good sleep, which that is also important for the recovery. In this way, fasting and the ketogenic diet will repair the DNA. If the too much DNA damage and the mitochondrial damage, which that recycle that all content due to the phagocytosis and the autophagy, basically autophagy. So a recycle of the cell, basically due to the AMPK pathway stimulation, and the AMPK pathway stimulation due to the major thing is that the fasting and the caloric restriction and exercise. I hope you make sense about that. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. For this time, bye. Allah Hafiz.